Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me at the market site in Times Square, New York City, we have Jay Heller. He is the head of capital markets at Nasdaq. We're going to learn what it's like to list on the Nasdaq Stock Market. Jay, it's great to have you with me on Trade Talks. And as the head of capital markets, you're also our chief IPO execution officer. I think you have the coolest job at Nasdaq because when companies first trade, it happens at your desk. What's that process like? What's it like to open stock for the first time?
Well, first of all, pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you.
And I thank you for the time. It's a celebration. It is a milestone. It really is the epitome of a company in their lifespan. They're transforming from a private entity to a publicly traded company, which ultimately is a forum that provides liquidity for early investors and the opportunity for institutional investors, and for that matter, retail investors, to buy companies at a price that they're willing to pay.
All right, now what's the benefits of listing on the Nasdaq Stock Market?
Oh, well, there's a lot of benefits of listing. We are a marketing machine. We are truly out there to help a company grow. We want to amplify their message, but we support them with all of our corporate services, from helping them on their IR solutions, to meeting with potential investors, to really, can I do that part again? That was no good. I'm sorry.
Okay, this is
I'm
live,
sorry.
actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But we'll start over.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, no problem. Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me from the market site in Times Square, New York City, we have Jay Heller. He's the head of capital markets at Nasdaq. Jay, it's great to have you with us on Trade Talks, and I think you probably have the coolest job at Nasdaq because in addition to being head of capital markets, you're also our chief IPO execution officer. So walk us through that. When you open a stock for the first time ever in a company's history, what is that like?
Well, first of all, thank you for the time. Pleasure to be here. So when a company's going public, really what it is a celebration, and it's a milestone from a company transitioning from being a private entity to a public entity, and it's our job to really form long-term partnerships, but I think most importantly, how do we help a company amplify their message and position them for growth over the future?
Now, why would a company want to go public?
So a company wants to go public for a few reasons. I think most importantly is from the liquidity factor. As companies have decided to stay longer in that private space for an extended period of time, on average, you can see companies stay private 9, 10 years. As an early investor, as an employee for a company, and even from a corporate standpoint to attain and attract employees, it's the liquidity factor. So a company is choosing to go public on a forum such as Nasdaq because you have a platform that can provide liquidity to all investor types.
All right, and it also gives the opportunity for retail investors
Correct.
to get involved with some of the companies.
That is correct.
All right, now, why would you list on the Nasdaq Stock Market?
So I think with Nasdaq, our platform has really been built on threefold. One, it's built on true transparency. We try to have a platform that is designed to protect investors of all statures. It can be retail, it could be institutional. So the mom and pop, if they want to participate, they feel they have an equal playing shot. The partnership that we form with the company, day one's fantastic. As I referenced, it is a celebration, it is a milestone, but these are truly historic and long-term partnerships. So companies that have chosen to list on Nasdaq, and in case some have been with us since 1971 when Nasdaq as a whole began. I think the third part, and really most important, is the partnerships that we form, not only with the companies that choose to list on the exchange, but the banking consortium, the underwriters, the syndicates. It's our job to provide a platform that brings transparency by leveraging our data that allows you as a bank, as an underwriter, to have complete and utterly transparent access to the order book, which gives you better price discovery.
All right, and it's not just when they open their stock for the first time. This relationship carries on through the life of the company in terms of corporate services and how you help them market, for sure.
Yeah, it is. I mean, these are long-term partnerships that we are building. And look, when you have successful partnerships from a company, you get to see the evolution from a startup to a seasoned company to some of the largest companies in the world. You know, at Nasdaq, when we started back in 1971, the 5 largest companies in the world were not listed on an exchange, but they are today. So you really get to see the evolution, the growth, but then the game changers, the people that are creating technology in the biotech sector, you know, companies that are coming up with solutions for, you know, diseases that have been, unfortunately, they've been killing people in the past. So you're seeing people that have really started sometimes in the garages of their houses to Silicon Valley, start with an idea, really evolve it, and then ultimately building these tremendous entrepreneurial type of companies.
All right, now direct listings is getting a lot of press lately. What's the difference between a direct listing and an IPO?
So flat out, the biggest thing is really the need for capital. So we at Nasdaq, there's no right or wrong answer. If a company chooses to do a direct listing or an IPO, it's the forum from our standpoint to provide a platform where a company can offer early investors, early shareholders, employees, an opportunity to really obtain liquidity. So if you think about the atypical IPO, that company on day one, they are raising capital for expansion, for potential M&A activity. Whereas with the path of a direct listing, there is no need for capital on day one. And that's the biggest difference between the two.
All right, and if it's a direct listing or an IPO, you can still list on the Nasdaq Stock Market.
100%. So from our standpoint, a company should do their due diligence, really understand what are the benefits of doing a direct listing and what are the benefits of doing an IPO, but ultimately find the path which is right for them. We as an exchange, we're going to support them either way, but the questions are being asked, and you should find out what is the best path forward for you as a corporate.
All right, now to wrap up here, you're talking about the technology that we share when we work with
Correct.
the different banks and so forth as an IPO or direct listing comes to market. Tell us about BookViewer and why it's an essential part of the IPO process.
So BookViewer is revolutionary in the IPO process. We are taking all this aggregated data, which we as Nasdaq, we are gathering throughout the price discovery process. We're leveraging our state-of-the-art technology by building a front end and allowing the underwriters, the syndicate, the stabilization agent with clear access to all the buyers and all the sellers. And why that's really important, it allows you to really focus in on what is the right price. Having information, having transparency allows one to mitigate volatility and open a security, as I said, at the right price. Because again, the markets are efficient. Buyers and sellers are going to come in once we do open up for trading. But having the ability to really kind of pinpoint where that equilibrium and where supply is actually meeting demand, it allows us to get a superior opening.
And that's why you don't open at the 9:30 a.m. Eastern.
That's right.
To get that transparency and exact pricing that you're looking for.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's 7,000 entities that open every single day at 9:30. One, it's a celebration. It is a milestone achievement for a company. So we never wanted you to be lumped in with the rest of the crowd. But there's also an art and a science. So we have the technology. Obviously, myself and my team, we have the human element. We partner with the banking, obviously the underwriting consortium, and we provide a transparent platform that leverages our technology, that protects all investors, and we feel gets superior outcome.
All right, Jay, thanks so much for joining us at MarketSite.
Great.
And thank you for joining me on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.